So what I want to talk about is rose. And it's not much used by herbalists, and it's kind of a lost tradition. And one of the reasons I love it is it's a beautiful woman's herb, but I love it mostly for its fragrance. And I think Portland is the city of roses, is it not? Yes. Yeah, so it's apropos for here. And one of the best things I love about the aroma is that it really opens your heart. And the reason that I became an herbalist was because the plants called my name, and like everybody in this room, the plants called your name, and once you're called, there's no going back. And so it opens the heart, the fourth chakra, and it's also a wonderful aroma to not only gladden the heart, but also in terms of getting over grief and envy and jealousy, all of those very toxic heart emotions. And so it's just, I'm just at a loss. I'm so overwhelmed by the emotion of rose. It's also very good for the liver. And there's a patent medicine made out of it that came out of, I think it's Bulgaria. And it is very good for lowering cholesterol. And all of those physical things don't interest me as much. It is good for the liver, it's good for digestion, which is also interesting because it's good for that emotional anger, which in TCM, of course, is the liver.
One of my favorite herbs that I like to use with children is Rosacana, or rose. And right now in Vermont, the roses are starting to bloom. And I really love this particular rose that we're going to be talking about today that I use in my preparations for children. Because this rose bush actually is from my childhood. I brought this rose from the beach that I grew up in Maine, and it's spread very nicely here in Vermont. And I collect the petals to make syrup. I also collect the petals to make a cordial and also to make a glycerin. And so using the rose petals to make these preparations, I can then add the preparations to tinctures and to hot water for tea and even to bake with. So like making a rose petal syrup gives me the opportunity to incorporate rose in the kitchen as well as a medicine. Some of the things I use the rose for, like rose syrup, is very nice to use with children under the age of 5 because it's sweet, it's calming. It's very calming to the nervous system. I might use it in formulas for sleep, for restlessness, irritability. It's also very useful in formulas for coughs or colds, mucus in the throat, and fever. The glycerin can be given at nighttime in warm water as a warm tea, and that's very useful for helping to bring on sleep and to have a more restful sleep. If you want to use it in cooking, the syrup is wonderful mixed with like pancakes or muffins that you're making for children, or a cake, or simmered or into a warm sauce poured over fruit or fruit salad. And so those are ways that you can incorporate rose right into someone's diet. Rose petal tea, which you take from collecting these rose petals, and it's very nice to, with this rose you can see, you can pick off each one and dry them on a screen and then collect them and add them to your teas. And I like to mix them with lemon balm for sleep teas and relaxing teas, as well as lavender flowers and calendula flowers, which will help to make a nice flower tea, which I might use for upset stomach cramps, excitability because of, which might give or lead to stomach irritability. Often children get stomach upset in anticipation of an exciting day, or if they're emotionally concerned about something. So the rose is nice to use just as a tea or as a syrup or glycerin, as I said. And the last thing is you can make nice rose soda for children. Taking rose glycerin or rose syrup and adding it to carbonated water, and a tablespoon of the syrup added to the carbonated water makes a really nice soda. It's light pink. It actually looks pleasant as well as smells and tastes pleasant.
Near it is another great plant. Also, wouldn't you know it, sweet and astringent, but having rather different properties. That's rose. We're in the rosehip phase. We've long ago passed the rose. This is a beautiful example here. Beautiful color. The whole rose family is very valuable, and we might take a moment here just to talk about the rose family in general. The whole family fights fire. You can kind of see fire in the plant here. The whole family is cooling. It's all full of these fruits that ripen in the middle of the summertime, like right now, or late summer. They attract the wildlife, and the big bears that have been eating all that food in the spring, and fish and stuff, they get all hot and overheated in the summertime, and they eat the fruit, and we do too, us humans. So what do we want? We want fruit, whether it's lemonade, fruit from a far continent, or whether it's rose hips or peaches, peaches, apples, pears, blueberry, raspberry, loganberry, lingonberry. All the berries are in the, almost all of them. Oh, not blueberry, excuse me, but they're all in the rose family there, and they're all very cooling. So rose hips or rose petals can be used. Well, I'll just talk more. I use the rose hips more, and the rose hips are sweet and astringent, and sour, sweet, and astringent. Actually, they're more sour than they are astringent, so they don't compare quite. They're not nearly as sweet as the root of the New Jersey tea. Sour means that they fight fire, fight heat. The sour taste, the flavonoids. The flavonoids are usually in sour plants, or let us say that sour plants usually have flavonoids, high amounts of flavonoids, and flavonoids help the blood pass through the capillaries and the arteries, and that helps cool, because you can move faster and get that heat to the surface and out of the body. And it's also astringent. So this remedy is used for hot conditions where you're losing fluids, where you're sweating perhaps. So this explains the major use in the Middle Ages. This plant was introduced by Ibn Sina, or Avicenna, the great Persian doctor, the prince of physicians, quote unquote, who introduced conserve of rose petal or rose hip, I'm not sure, conserve of rose as a major remedy for tuberculosis, because it fights heat and fluid loss. Fits perfectly. It was used all the way into the 19th century for tuberculosis. So it's an excellent remedy for heat, fever, red, elongated tongue with fluids on it, little streamers down the sides. That means dampness in the spleen or in the lymphatics, or often in the digestive tract. It can be for diarrhea. Pepescent, difficult to form and move. There's almost a constipation from difficult expulsion of the diarrhea. It's another plant, yellow dock. We have that same problem where we have a sour astringent, and we use it for diarrhea and constipation. And it also cleans out the lymph. My friend Phyllis Light, who is a student of Tommy Bass, she would say how it helps the thoracic outlet of the lymphatic system dump into the bloodstream, and there's a reflex. You can press up under the rib cage and influence that and cause that dumping. But that remedy will help cause that dumping, and that helps get the lymph going, and that helps get the large intestine going as well. I've used that remedy fairly often, probably gone through 10-15 ounces a year without problem, maybe 20, even in my small doses. So